Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to explain what ND filters are, how they work, and pretty much why you'd use them. So I'll show you this one right now. This one I have right here is a Fotgar, that's the brand. It's an ND filter, obviously it's an ND filter. It's a variable ND filter, meaning that I can twist it to stop light or let in more light. You can probably see that. It's pretty dark and then it will get a bit more see-through. Where am I? There we go. So as I turn it, it'll become more see-through, as you can see there. So that's what a variable ND filter is. You can buy fixed ND filters that cut out a certain amount of light, like 2 stops, 3 stops, and 4 stops, and you just change them depending on your situation. I prefer these because I can just set up my camera, set up my shot, wind up the ND filter however I need, and then hit record. Whereas the other ones, you have to keep changing them off your lens and swapping. Chances are you'll probably leave one on the lens for the majority of the day anyway, but a lot of people say that fixed ND filters actually provide better quality image, but I seem to think that these work really well. So the reason you'll want to use an ND filter as a videographer is because there's a thing called the 180-degree shutter rule, and what that means is to get truly cinematic footage, you need to have your shutter speed needs to be double your frame rate. So if I'm shooting in 25 frames per second, which is the standard frame rate here in Australia, then my shutter speed will be 1/50. If I'm shooting 50 frames per second to get a bit of slow-mo, then my shutter speed will be 1/100. So yeah, that's the 180-degree rule. You should always be filming, your shutter speed should always be double your frame rate for that cinematic footage. So the one way of cutting light, obviously you have ISO. If that's at the lowest setting and your aperture is completely closed down, but you're still getting too much light, the only other thing left is to up your shutter speed. And then once you do that, you start losing that cinematic feel. Things start to get a little bit too, you don't get that nice cinematic motion blur. So that's where ND filters come in. You can just shoot at that locked in shutter speed of say 1/50, and then you can use your ND filter to take out the extra light that you don't want. Just started raining, horrible day. So as a photographer, you probably don't need them as much unless you're doing long exposures during the daytime. And basically, as a photographer, you can make your shutter speed really fast to cut out that extra light. But if you do want to do a long exposure with a slower shutter speed as a photographer, then you can use an ND filter to get a really long shutter speed, and that works really well if you're shooting waterfalls or water and things like that, and you want to capture that motion in a photo. You can get some really good shots doing that. But yeah, as a videographer, 100% you really do need one, especially if you're going to shoot something where you want that shallow depth of field. So you're going to be opening up your aperture really wide, and you can't get rid of light any other way because your ISO is at the lowest, and your shutter speed obviously you've locked in at that 1/50 or whatever it is, double your frame rate. Then the only way to get rid of extra light is use the ND filter. So what I'm going to do now is show you what happens. This is on pretty minimum at the moment because my aperture is pretty closed, pretty wide open. Sorry, pretty closed down. So I'm just going to wind this. You'll see it get dark. So that right there is about as dark as this ND filter goes, which is extremely dark. You'd probably never have it on that. And then I'm going to wind it back. And right there, that's as bright as it will go at the moment. But like I said, my aperture is closed down a little bit. Normally everything would be blown out because I'm using at the lowest ISO I can. It's pretty bright out today, even though it's a gloomy day, it's pretty bright. So let me just put that back to kind of normal, somewhere around there. Yeah, that's why I love ND filters, because you can shoot that cinematic footage, you can use your aperture wide open to get that shallow depth of field, and you just use the ND filter to cut all the extra light out. So basically it's just a tint for your lens. And that's why I like variable, because like I said before, I can set up my shot, wind the variable filter, and expose it correctly. So for those who are wondering, ND stands for neutral density, and that's pretty much it. So they're pretty simple the way they work, but they're extremely helpful. As a videographer, 100% you'll pretty much need one, because you don't really want to knock your shutter speed up really high, because you're going to start getting that fake looking weird motion where there isn't that nice natural motion blur. So the reason I did this video is I have done a video on ND filters in the past, but I'm going to delete it. It was horrible. So this video is to replace that, and I just got some ND filters for the DJI Mavic drone, and they're fixed filters, so you get 3 filters in the pack. 2 of them are ND filters and 1 of them is a circular polarizer. And with the drone, pretty much what I do, because they are fixed, you don't want a variable one for a drone because it's not like you're going to be able to play with it when it's in the air anyway. But what I usually do with my drone is I hold it in my hand, get all my settings correct, so I make sure my shutter speed is double my frame rate. The aperture's fixed on the Mavic, so unfortunately you can't play around with the aperture at all. I think it's fixed at 2.2, so it's good because it does let in a lot of light, but it's bad because it can let in too much light, and the only way to counteract that if you don't have ND filters is to up the shutter speed, and then you start getting that that really sharp weird look where everything looks, it just doesn't look nice. It's not natural to the eye. So that's why I got the ND filters for the Mavic. So I'm going to do a review on them soon, and I wanted a video that I could point people back to say, you know, this is what an ND filter is and this is how it works. So that's pretty much it. I hope it helped. If you have any questions at all about ND filters or video stuff in general, just let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them as best as I can. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.